Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how I recreated the beautiful style on my thumbnail. You'll be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful dress displaying on the screen. So if this is what you're interested in learning, make sure you don't skip any part and also watch till the end so that you learn one or two things. At the end of the video, if you found my tutorial helpful, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell for more videos. Okay, this is the Ankara fabric that I'll be working with. I made use of 3 yards. I'll be attaching my body measurement on the screen. I also have this crepe fabric that I'll be using for the pleating and the collar. I also use it for the wall pocket. I bought 2 yards of it. I also have my cotton lining here. I bought 1.5 yards of it. I'll be drafting on the pattern paper for the purpose of clarity. So I'll be starting with my back part. I will start by marking out my vertical line. From my shoulder to my chest line is 9 inches. I got the 9 inches by dividing my bust measurement by 6 and add extra 2 inches. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10.5 inches. From my shoulder to my waistline is 18 inches. From my shoulder to my hip line is 26 inches. The full length of my gown is 41 inches, but because I'm adding a pleating on the nail, I'll be deducting 7 inches, so I'll mark 34 inches. So I'll be using the crepe fabric to complete it 41. So for now, I will leave it at 34 inches. I'll go ahead now and rule out my lines. After ruling out my lines, I will start marking my horizontal measurement. So my shoulder width is 16 inches. I divide it by 2. I have 8 inches. I will rule a straight line to connect it. You can as well mark the 8 inches on the chest line so that you can get a straight line. So on my chest line, I will be marking quarter of my round bust measurement. If I divide my round bust by 4, I have 10.5 inches. I will add 1 inch for my sewing allowance. If you like, you can add more than 1 inch for your sewing allowance. On my waistline, I will divide my round waist by 4. I have 9.5 inches. I will add 1 inch for sewing allowance and 1 inch for that intake. On my hip line, I will divide my round hip by 4. I have 12 inches for my round hip. I will add 1 inch for sewing allowance. So to place the measurement on my knee length, I will first of all measure what I have here. I have 13 inches, so I will be deducting 1 inch from the hip measurement. I have 12 inches, so the 12 inches I'll place it here and I'll connect it. So I'll go ahead now and connect it the way you see me doing. After connecting it, I'll be tightening the center bar. So on the waistline, I will come in by ½ inch. This gown does not have back zipper, so I want the back part to relax very well. After marking the ½ inches, you connect it the way you see me doing. After connecting it, the next thing I'll be marking now is my dart line, and I'll be using my nipple to nipple point measurement. My nipple to nipple point measurement is 9 inches. I'll divide it by 2. I have 4.5, so I mark it on my nipple point line. So after marking it, I will rule it straight down to the hem. So on the waistline, I will be tightening the waistline by ½ inch on the both that leg. That's why I added 1 inch when I was placing my body measurement. On the nipple point line, I came down by 1 inch. So from the waistline, I will come down by 6 inches. After that, I will connect it the way you see me doing. After connecting it, the next thing I'll be marking now is my neck width. I use 3.5 inches for my neck width, and for the neck depth, I use 2 inches. This is for my back. So I will curve my neckline the way you see me doing. So on the shoulder line, I will be coming down by ½ inch for my shoulder slant. I will connect it to the neck width. After that, I will now curve my armhole. Just place your pattern master the way I place mine, and you curve your armhole the way you see me doing. So for this gown, I'll be using shoulder darts. So I will divide what I have on my shoulder line, ½ Just fold my tape to get the midpoint. After that, I will connect it to the nipple point line the way you see me doing. If you like, you can use armhole present dart. For me, I use shoulder darts. So after marking it, I will go ahead now and cut it out. After cutting it, this is what I have. So I will go ahead now and cut out my front part. I have my pattern here. As you can see, I left 6 inches on the upper part, and on the side I left 6 inches also. You understand the reason for that as this video progresses. I also join my paper so that I can get a longer length. So my measurement will start from this line, which is my shoulder line. From there I will mark my chest line, which is 9 inches, my bust line, which is 10.5, my waistline, which is 18 inches, my hip line, which is 26 inches, and the length of the gown, which is 34 inches. This is just the repetition of what I did on the back part, so you follow what I'm doing. This is where my 34 inches stop, so I will cut out the remaining. After that, I will mark half of my shoulder width, which is 8 inches. I also mark it on the chest line. I will connect the dots with a straight line. I will divide my round bust by 4. I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Okay, I mistakenly mark on my bust point line instead of my waistline, so I'll cancel it now. So on my waistline, I will mark quarter of my round width, which is 9.5. I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance and 1.5 inches for that intake. I will repeat the same thing on the hip line. On the knee, I will minus 1 inch from what I have on my hip measurement, and I will connect it. Please note that I mark 1 inch for that intake for the back part. On the front part, I mark 1.5 inches for that intake because I want to snatch the front waist. I want to tighten the front waist very well. After that, I will divide my chest line by 2. I'll get the midpoint. I'll come in by ½ inch. I will slant it this way. I want to curve my armhole, so you follow what I'm doing. After curving the armhole, I will mark 3.5 inches for neck width and 3.5 inches for neck depth. I will curve my round neck the way you see me doing. If you're a smaller size, you can mark 3 by 3. That's 3 for the width and 3 for the depth. So after curving my round neckline, I will come down by 1 inch for shoulder slant. I will slant it to the neck width this way. On my bust point line, I will mark half of my nipple to nipple point measurement, which is 4.5 inches. I will also mark it on the waistline. I will connect it straight to the hem the way you see me doing. After ruling straight down, I will come down by 1 inch from my bust point line, and from the waistline I will come down by 6 inches. For my dart intake, I will be marking 0.75. This is my 0.75 here. I will mark it here, and I also mark 0.75 on this side. That's why I added 1.5 inches when I was marking my body measurement. So I will divide what I have here by 2. I'll still connect it, the same thing I did on the back part. After connecting it, the next thing is to mark where my overlap will start. So from my shoulder line, I came down by 15 inches. I want my first button to be 1 inch below my under bust line. If you like, you can come up, so I will make a straight line to indicate it. For my overlap, I will come out by 5 inches. That's how I want it to overlap. I will rule it out. After that, I will make a straight line to the hem. You can also mark the 5 inches so that you can get a straight line. To make a straight line, I will connect the dots now. After connecting it with a straight line, the next thing now is to slant it. To do that, what I will do now is to come out by ½ inch or 0.25. You know, our neckline is not straight, it's round. So I will slant it the way you see me doing. Just watch closely what I'm doing, you'll get it right. After slanting it, the next thing now is to extend this line. To do that, you measure your back neckline. So I will take my back pattern and I will measure the round neck. I have 5 inches after measuring it. So from this line now, I will measure the 5 inches. I will connect it this way. After connecting the line, the next thing is to mark the width of the collar, but before I do that, I will come out by ½ inch. This will help the collar to relax very well when I'm piecing it. If you don't do this, your collar will not relax very well. So after that, I will measure the width of my collar. I use 4 inches for the width, so I will mark my 4 inches here. After that, I will now slant it this way, like angle 90. It's not straight, like this, it's like angle 90. So I will now mark my lapel. I use 3.5 inches for my lapel, so I will just mark 3.5 inch on this line. This will serve as my lapel, so I will connect it this way, and I will rule it straight to the overlap, the way you see me doing. The next thing is to mark my notch collar, so I will come in by 2 inches from this line. I will mark my 2 inches. On that 2 inches, I will keep my tape this way, and I'll mark 1.5 inches. I will connect it the way you see me doing. After connecting it, I will curve my collar the way you see me doing. Just fix your eyes on the screen, you'll get it right. This is how my collar would look like. Can you see? So the next thing I'll be doing now is to cut it out. This is my collar now. So on this part, I will write cut on fold. This part will be on fold, so I will write to indicate it. I will continue my cutting. On this part where I mark my notch collar, I will be notching it here, and I also notch the 2 inches here, so that when I transfer to my fabric, I'll remember to indicate it. After cutting it out, I will write front part to indicate, so you label your pattern. So this is what I have. Can you see that? Can you see my lapel? So I will go ahead now and transfer it to my fabric. So I'm gonna ahead to cut it out. This is my front part. So this notch I made on my pattern, I will transfer it to my fabric. I added ½ inch on the neckline, ½ inch on this side. I did not add side sewing allowance because I added it on my pattern when I was drafting. I add ½ inch that will be joining my darts. I also cut my lining the same way I cut the main fabric. So I have my cotton lining here, and for this side front I have my crepe fabric. This is because of the lapel, so that if I turn my collar, the black crepe will show. So you also do the same thing. I have my back part here. As you can see, I did not add side seam sewing allowance, so I added ½ inch that will be joining the dart, ½ inch on this side and on the neck and on shoulder. For the front part, I notch where my lapel stop, which is 5 inches. Please take note of that. So you add your necessary sewing allowance. This is my line. I use cotton lining for the back. I did not use crepe on my back part. So this is my collar. Can you see that? This black one is crepe fabric, and this is my ankara. I cut 2 with crepe and ankara. So I want to show you this part now. I told you that I will be cutting it on fold. Can you see it on fold? It does not have any joining. So for the notch collar, I will also make a notch on this 1.5 inches the same way I notch it on my pattern when I was drafting it, and on this part where my front neckline stop, I also notch it to indicate. So I will pin it back now. After that, the next thing I'll be doing now is to iron my interface on it. So I'll come back and show you. I iron stay on my crepe fabric. Please use stay on your crepe, and I iron soft gum stay on my ankara fabric. Can you see how smooth it is? This is because I use stay. So you also do the same thing. For the back part, I use soft gum spray both for the lining and for the main fabric. Ironing interface on the Ankara fabric is optional. You can decide to leave it if your Ankara is thick, but you make sure you iron on the side front because of the lapel. I have my front part here, so I will be pinning it the same way I'm going to be sewing it on my machine now. So you pin it on your table first. I will grab one for this side and grab one from this side. I'll pin it. After pinning it, I'll also repeat the same thing on the other side. So you go and sew with the ½ inch that you added when you were on the ½ inch that you added. So after pinning the main fabric, I also pin the lining. Just keep it on your table and pin before sewing so that you will not get confused. I will repeat the same thing on the back part. After sewing it, I'll come back and show you the next thing to do. The same way you pin your front part is the same way you will pin your back. This is my back part. Please, if you find my video interesting, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell for more video. Also like and share my video. Alright, so this is what I have when I was done sewing it. Can you see my back part? I will open press and iron properly. After ironing it, I will be joining the center back. So you place it this way and you join with ½ inch that you added as your sewing allowance. So I'll do it and come back and show you. This is my back part. I've joined it. I'll also open press the center front and iron it very well. So this is my lining for the back part. I also did the same thing I did on the main fabric. Can you see everything is equal? Make sure that yours is equal when you are sewing it. Alright, I have my front part here. Can you see? So I've also ironed it. This is my lining for the front part. The next thing is to join the front and back together. So I'll place my back part like this. After placing it, I'll place one side of the front the way you see me doing. Make sure you use your pin to secure it. I will place the remaining one this way. I will sew the shoulder. When you are shaping the two sides, make sure you shape with ½ inch. If you added 1 inch for sewing, I will use ½ inch. If you add 1.5, use 1 inch to close the two sides. This is because jacket is not meant to be tight on our body. It's meant to be free. So if you use your exact measurement to close it, you will not like the outcome. So I will go and sew it now. I'll sew with ½ inch and I'll come back and show you. I added 1 inch for sewing allowance because I didn't want too much sewing allowance. This is what I have when I was done sewing it. Can you see the side? I will iron it now. I also do the same thing for my lining. The same way I close the main fabric is how I close my lining. Can you see? So I also arrange it. As you can see, my lining and my main fabric is equal. I'm arranging it for you to confirm. So make sure yours is equal as well. So this is what I have. Before I use my lining to turn the main fabric, I'll be attaching my pocket. This is in form of false well pocket. Let me just call it illusion well pocket. I have this piece of crepe fabric that I'll be using to show you how I cut it out. I've already cut out one side. For one side, you cut out 2 pieces. Can you see I have 2 here? So I'll place it together now. The length is 6 inches while the width is 6 inches. I'll still be trimming it out. So I will come down by 1.5 inches. I want to give it that pocket shape. So I will curve it this way. Just follow what I'm doing, you get it right. Can you see what I did on this one? That's what you will do. I'll cut it out now. After trimming it out, you have something like this. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to go and sew it. I'll sew with ½ inch this way. As you can see, I iron my soft gum stay on one part of the sleeve. So I'll be trimming it off. I want the pocket cover to be 4 inches, that's 3.5. I'll be using half inch to sew it, that is 4 inches, so I'll trim it out. I'll do the same thing for the other one. So after that, you turn it to the right side. After turning it to the right side, you iron it down. After ironing, the next thing is to fix the pocket cover. So to do that, I will measure down 18 inches, which is my half length. So I will mark my 18 inches here. I will repeat the same thing on the other side. After that, I will fold my pocket cover into two. I want to determine the midpoint. So after notching it, I will now determine where I want to place the pocket. So from the side, I measure 4 inches. So I will place it on that middle point where I notch. Just place it there. So to sew it, you flip it this way. I'll pin it down so you sew with half inch. After sewing it, you turn it to this side. I will repeat the same thing on this side. I will measure 4 inches from my side. On that 4 inches, I will place where I notch on it. You notch it. You place the notch part on the 4 inches. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So I will go and sew it and I'll come back and show you what you have. When you want to sew it, you spread your fabric out this way. You keep the pocket cover like this and you sew with half inch. So I'm done sewing it. The next thing is to top stitch on the pocket. You flip it like this and top stitch so that it will relax very well. So this is what I have when I was done top stitching on the pocket. So the next thing now is to fix my collar. I'll be fixing a lining to lining, fabric to fabric. So you fold it. This part is the part I'll be attaching on the neckline. So I will notch the middle point. Just fold your collar into two and notch the midpoint. So I'll be fixing it on the middle of the back where you have the line. So I'll carefully pin it. Just pin it straight. If you get to where you notch, where your notch collar is, you pause. As you can see, the two notch is matching. The one I notch on the lapel and the one I notch on the collar is matching. So you also do the same thing on this side. After pinning my main fabric, I will repeat the same thing on my lining. After pinning it, you sew with half inch. You start from where you notch and sew. So I'll also do the same thing on my lining, and I will come back and show you the next thing that you have. So I've sewn it already. Can you see? You will notch it round. Make sure you notch it so that your collar can relax very well. You also notch your lining the same way you notch the main fabric. After notching it, the next thing I'll be doing now is to fix my sleeve. This is my basic sleeve that I've already cut out. I also cut my lining. So I'll be using puff sleeve. If you don't know how to cut a puff sleeve, I have a tutorial on my channel. So I reduced my lining by 1.5 inches. Please reduce this by 1.5 inches. So I'll be pleating the upper part. So I have excess here. So I'll go to my sewing machine now and gather it. So after gathering it, I will measure what I have here to confirm whether it's the same thing with my sleeve. So you make sure that it's equal. Make sure that your round armhole is matching with the one on your sleeve. Alright, you also do the same thing on your lining. So the same way I sew my sleeve on the main fabric is what I did on my lining. So I'll make sure it's matching. After that, I will go and fix my sleeve. To fix your sleeve, what you just do is to pin it this way. Make sure that this side is matching with the side on this one. You pin it round. After pinning it, you now sew with half inch. So I'll just pin it round. Use your pin to pin it round before you start sewing. Alright, as you can see, mine is equal. I don't have any excess. That's the sense of confirming it before fixing your sleeve. I've also done the same thing on my lining. Can you see what I have? So the next thing now is to use my lining to turn the main fabric. You place it. Make sure that the notch part is matching. Can you see? I use my pin to hold it on the notch collar. So pin it round. After pinning it, you now sew with 1/2 inch. Just watch closely what I'm doing, you'll get it right. Okay, so I'll sew this way with 1/2 inch. I'm done sewing it. I will notch this part, notch the neckline. So after notching it, I will now turn it to the right side from the down part. Just push out everything. You can use your scissors to push out the collar. If you observe, you see that I've not turned the sleeve part. I will just push it out first. After pushing it out, I will give it a good ironing. After ironing it properly, I will turn it to the wrong side. I want to show you how you can close the sleeve part. So you turn it to the wrong side. Just follow what I'm doing, you get it right. So after flipping it to the wrong side, you now place it this way. The line on the main fabric must match with the line on the lining, I mean where you joined. So you pin the sleeve round. Just pin your round sleeve. So when you are closing your round sleeve, make sure it's equal. Measure it, confirm it first before fitting it on your sleeve. So I'm done sewing it. So I will turn it to the right side now. I've also done the same thing on the other sleeve. So after bringing it out, the next thing now is to give it a proper ironing. Can you see that the hem of the sleeve is folding? That's because I reduced it by 1.5 inches. Can you see what I have on the wrong side? So I will press it down. After pressing it down, I will now close this part. I will stitch it down. I'm done stitching it down. When you are stitching it down, make sure that the joining on the lining is matching the joining on the main fabric. So you have a neat finishing like this. I will now measure what I have on the hem of the dress. I want to cut out the crepe fabric that I'll be using for my pleating. I have about 54 inches, so I will be multiplying the 54 inches by 3. 54 times 3, I have about 162. So the length of this crepe that I have here is 162. You can join it to complete your length. As you can see, I joined mine. So the width is 7 inches. So I added extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. Can you see? The 7 inches, I added extra 2 inches for folding and for joining with the main fabric. So I've already folded the hem of the sleeve. You fold the 2 edges, fold it before pleating on it. So can you see what I have? I have folded the 2 edges. To pleat it, I will start marking my 1.5 inches. I'll mark 1.5 inches. I will mark another 1.5 inches. After marking this third one, I will now grab the middle one to meet with the last one. Can you see? I'll fold it again. Fold it very well this way. You can pin it or use your iron to press it down. Preferably use your iron to iron it down. Make sure you use steam iron. If you don't have a steam iron, you sprinkle water on it. So I will measure another 1.5 inches from the last one. I'll measure another 1.5. If you like, you can mark the 1.5 all through, but let me just be taking it bit by bit so that you understand. So I will fold this first line that I marked to meet the second point. Let me just fold it again. This one here, you fold it this way to meet the second one. Can you see? You also press it down. So I will mark another one from this last one. I'll fold it. If you don't understand, you can watch it again. So from this last one that I folded now, I'll measure another 1.5. I'll also measure another 1.5. The trick there is that after folding the last one, you now measure 1.5 two times. You now fold it. Can you see? So that's how you would do it. Just take your time to rewatch it if you don't understand. Because my fabric is too long, I will go off camera now to fold it, and I'll come back and show you. So I'm done folding it. After arranging it, you now confirm whether it's up to the hem of your dress. That's the 54 inches. So when you are making a pleating gown, use your steam iron or you sprinkle water on it. If you sprinkle water on it, you can use a piece of fabric to place on it and iron it on a very hot heat so that it will lay flat. So if you want to do a lazy man work, you can use this press starch, or if you are producing in large quantity, just use press starch so that it will make your work easier. If you spread the press starch, you leave it to dry a little bit, then you iron it, it will just stand. So this is when I was sewing it. So you just stitch it down this way. For the fact you have the pleating line there, it will be easy. Just be arranging it this way. So I'm done stitching it down. After stitching it down, you now fold your main dress into two. After folding it into two, you notch the middle point. So I'll also fold the pleating into two, and I'll get the midpoint. So after notching the midpoint, you match it together, notch to notch. Make sure that the notch part is matching. You use your pin to pin it down. After pinning it down, you go and sew with 1/2 inch. So I'm done sewing it. Can you see what I have? So I'll go to my weaving machine and weave this part with my black thread. Before you weave it, make sure you open press the joining and iron it very well. Also iron the right side, the joining part. So this is what I have when I was done. I will arrange it now for you to see. Can you see the neat finishing there? It really came out the way I wanted it. So after arranging it, I will confirm my lapel. So you measure from your shoulder to 15 inches. This 15 inches is where I will be attaching my first button. So that's how to do it. So I've used my crepe fabric to form my cover button. This is the medium size. If you don't know how to do it, you can go to the market and do it. So to fix the button, what I did is that I measure 1.5 inches from where I attach my pocket. So that's how you will fix your button. On this side, you do the same thing. So after that, you can now do your buttonhole. You do your buttonhole on the right side so that if you close your button, it will go to the wrong side. So this is how I attach my button. I make sure that the thread did not show on the wrong side. So this is how you sew it. Can you see how I'm doing it? So after sewing it, you tie it very well so that it will not loose. If you find my tutorial helpful, make sure you hit the subscribe button. This will encourage me to do more content on sewing tutorials. You iron it. This is my overlap. I make sure I iron it very well. Can you see? Please make sure you share this video. I've also gone ahead to weave the joining part. Thanks for watching.